Welcome back to Roll the Bones, a Dungeons & Dragons podcast. Quick heads up, we did have a technical issue in this episode at brief points. It's not severe, but you might notice it, so I want you to know that it only affects this episode. Let's get right back to it. Here are your players.
I'm Chip. I play Oz the Half-Elf Wizard.
I'm Gretchen. I play Kahu Namart, Wood Elf, who is a rogue. And I rose to the top, and I'll stab anybody to stay there.
How do you have a different one?
Look, Housewives has been on for a long time.
You gotta be able to cycle through them. I'm Shelby, and I play Ford, the Tabaxi Cleric.
And I'm Chris. I'm your Dungeon Master.
Huh.
And it's just kind of crawling over the pews, like making its way towards that bronze bell.
Does Claude look like a pretty strong dude?
Why don't you roll something? If you want to guess how strong he is, as in just physically strong, then I would say like a perception check. But if you're trying to gauge like as a warrior,
No, not that. What I'm getting at,
literally how much he can lift.
does he look like he would be strong enough to bar the door?
He doesn't look like he'd be strong at all. No, he's like a lithe, wafy, elven chef.
All right.
Sure.
He'll shove the goblin into his hands. Take this goblin. Stay back.
He takes the goblin and he says, "This does not count as the exotic meat."
Good one. I was just going to say the wolf spire, there's your exotic meat, Claude.
Could be.
Our exotic.
He is not happy about the wolf spider. He does take the goblin, but he kind of shrinks down behind a pew and he's just chilling for
And
a
I'm gonna. Is the wolf spider coming at us yet?
Yeah, you've got a second before it notices you. It
Okay.
has
Well,
not
I'm
yet.
gonna take that second to finish barring the door.
Okay. How do you roll a athletics check?
I'm gonna take the help action.
Hey, thanks, buddy.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Not necessary.
Not necessary.
I try to help you, and you lift the entire pew by yourself.
Yeah, it is. To those of you who are not a Githyanki, it is probably kind of a thing of beauty to see him rip this pew off of the floor and in one smooth motion whip his body around and install it in front of the door. It's pretty cool. Unfortunately, it does make some noise, and the wolf spider definitely is aware of you, and it chitters, kind of spins on its axis, and it's facing you, and it starts to move towards you hastily.
I pluck a goblin arrow out of my chest, like, I'm gonna stay behind you.
Yeah, you are looking pretty rough.
Yeah.
So let's roll initiative.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Nice. I got a 10.
23 with my...
Yeah, I'll do an ambush. That is 16.
Who is first? Kahu gets first move.
Okay. And we have to engage with this spider?
No, you don't have to. You can do whatever you want.
Like, I feel like it makes sense to just, like, if we know where this basement is, go to this door and go down there and avoid the spider altogether.
It's large enough that, if you try and just kind of, like, run around it, like running back style and get past it, like, it is going to get a swipe or two on you. Yeah, it is very fast.
It is a big boy.
And it is faster than you. It can move 40 feet.
Okay, well...
It has a climb speed, doesn't it?
40 climb.
Unfortunately, then I guess I'm going to have to go ahead and engage with him. I'm going to use my short bow.
Okay.
And shoot him. And I'm aiming for, like, the body, not legs, obviously. All right, hold on.
Called shot's not a rule anymore, right?
Yeah, it's not.
For roleplay purposes, we're good to go. I just want to make sure. Yes, okay. So 17 does hit.
Okay. Oh, damn it. And it's a 4.
All right. So it hits it in the thorax and sinks in, but it's still coming fast. And in fact, it's going to be right up on you.
Can I use a bonus action?
Yeah, of course you can. What is your bonus action?
Insightful fighting. So my opponent isn't incapacitated. So I can use a sneak attack against him, even if I don't have advantage?
Yeah, so go ahead and roll your insight then.
Okay.
And basically what this is, right, is like you're looking for his weaknesses. So,
Analyzing its fighting style.
I can't imagine a spider has a great deception check.
Probably not. Most animals have low charisma. Not all of them, though.
It's a 6.
okay, so, I mean,
Not good.
you fail.
Cool.
Spiders are hard to read.
I suppose so. All right, so it closes the distance between the two of you pretty easily, and it is going to try to bite you.
Neat.
Oh, it's probably going to miss, though. That's going to be a 9 to hit, so I'm assuming that's no good, right? Your armor class is definitely higher than 9.
Yeah,
It was
13.
fact 13, so yeah, that does miss. You're able to kind of skip out of the way of it, no problem, and then it's Malkrith's turn.
Okay, cool. So it's already up on us. So I'm going to pull, instead of my glaive, I'm going to pull my greatsword. And you're behind us, right?
Yes.
Okay, great.
I'm going to do everything I can to keep you between me and the spider.
All right, I'll back up a little more. And then I'll pull out this sort of swooshy, curvy greatsword. And then I start sort of like dancing around with you. At first, I'm just sort of like almost like pushing into your space, and then like using my momentum to like roll you back to where I was, so that we're kind of flip-flopping back and forth between our positioning, which is going to do what's called a bait and switch, which adds 6 to both of our armor classes until the
Love
end
that.
of my next turn.
Hell yeah.
That's a wild ability.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really good.
And that is I only have to spend 5 feet of movement to do that.
Good God.
Cool.
Yeah, and then I'm going to swing at this thing with my greatsword. And because I have grand weapon fighting, or 2-weapon fighting. Oh wait, why did
Great weapon.
Great
it should be great weapon fighting. I put 2-weapon fighting because I'm a dummy. But the great weapon fighting, I'm gonna fix it now. It lets me reroll 1s and 2s, but I have to keep it if it rolls into another 1 or 2. Like that.
All right, so you do a very elegant move that gets you to the front line and, you know, places Kahu in a protective position, but then you whiff on the spider himself.
No, he still hit it.
Oh, did you still hit it?
Yeah.
My bad.
Oh no, actually I didn't roll.
Oh, my bad.
I got ahead of myself. That is it's probably gonna hit. That is
13 is
21.
Well, I shouldn't have even
Yeah.
told you that,
to
but
hit. And then the damage roll that I did preemptively is going to be a total of 7.
okay. So tell me how you slice this guy up.
I'll just try and lop off one of its legs. Try and slow it down.
Okay. So you are able to cleanly slice off one of its legs, and it collapses to the ground, dead, you think. Then all of a sudden, however, there is sort of a weird flash and almost like a puff of smoke, and then you see that laying on the ground there is in fact a body of a man. And he is prone.
Where the leg was?
No. The spider has transformed back
Oh,
into the
got it.
human that he was.
Spider was pregnant with a man.
He's awake, but he is prone, and he looks like he is hurt.
Do I know about druids?
I think that you know enough about druids to know that, yeah, this was indeed a druid who was transformed into a spider. And it is your turn, actually.
Oh, so I was in the middle of like spinning up like a big nasty spell, and I stop and I go, "You shouldn't menace us like that. We're here to help."
Yeah. He does not find that persuasive. He doesn't answer at all.
Can I make a persuasion roll on that? I should try to like.
Yeah, well, of course you can.
Okay. That's an 8.
Okay. An 8 is not going to do it. He mutters something to you under his breath, and he starts to try and get to his feet again.
Is he missing a leg?
He is not missing a leg, but he is missing a finger.
Oh.
And you can see he's gripping a quarterstaff kind of out in front of him. But yeah, he's got part of his hand is lopped off and he's running blood down the side of this quarterstaff. And yeah, is that your turn, Oz?
I don't want to kill this guy. I think he's on our side. Let's see. I am going to ready an action if he attacks us again to cast Firebolt.
Fair enough.
Mhm.
All right, so now it is Kahu's turn again.
All right, I'm going to use my investigation skills to talk to him and see if I can find out anything and explain to him who we are.
Okay, why don't you roll an investigation? We can do that.
That's a 10.
Okay, a 10. And so what do you want to say to him?
Buddy, I think we're here all on the same side. Can you tell us what is going on in here and point us towards the basement?
The expression on his face is one of contempt. And he looks at you and he says, "Leave now and I will not kill you."
Everybody want to tell us what to do. Damn.
Jesus.
I'll just.
Well, that's not a very warm welcome.
I'll just smile real big. Yes, this was the glorious combat I was looking for.
Remind me, does her making a check count as her action?
Yeah.
Usually yes.
Yeah, I think it does.
Well, I think like things like investigate, perception, insight. I think those are usually considered free actions.
Yeah, I mean, really, we get to
actions?
kind of like decide on this. And I think in this situation, that feels like not a full action to me. For her to say, chill out, and him to say, screw you,
Oh, well, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
talking is usually a free action.
Yes.
seems like you should not lose your action all the way, I don't think.
Okay. Well, I'm going to then use intimidation to get him to,
To back down.
yes.
Well, okay, so doing this the second time, I will say, this
Is
does
it-
definitely count as
Okay.
Yeah.
So roll me that intimidation.
21.
Ooh.
Okay, a 21. I am...
Scary.
Yeah, I do think that fair enough. He can clearly see that he is outmatched. He is hurt and he is still on the ground anyway, but he slides his quarterstaff away from himself and he puts his hands up like this. And then Chef Claude
What-
stands up suddenly and he pulls out his two knives and he says, "Yes, that's right."
As he slides away the quarterstaff, what are you doing?
I'm surrendering.
No, don't. No. Pick that back up. We were going to do some glorious combat.
And he looks scared and he starts to move his hand back towards the quarterstaff. He kind of doesn't seem like he knows
No.
what he's supposed to do
No. Hands
to
up.
survive. And he puts his hands back up and then he says, "Forgive me, but I don't know what you want."
I think that as long as you don't show intent to fight anymore, we won't kill you. My friend is just disappointed.
I've already surrendered.
And we might still kill you.
As this conversation is happening, by the way, you are now hearing battering against that barred door. Not a battering ram, but definitely somebody kind of trying to kick at it. And the sounds of general battle of metal on metal, of the occasional scream, sound like they are more outside the door.
This guy is human.
This guy is human. Other things you notice about him, he looks particularly bedraggled. He does not look like the druids that you've seen walking around Golden Fields. Now that you have, gotten a better look at him, he looks like he's maybe been living in the woods even. He also has a tattoo on his arm, just a solid black band that looks almost like a bracelet at first, and just plain kind of gray traveling robes, really about as unadorned and simple as you can get.
Well, I'll look down. You there, coward. Get up. Help me barricade this further.
He does indeed listen to you. He gets up and tries to lift up one end of another pew. His hand is pretty messed up because you sliced, part of his spider legs off. So he's not super helpful, but he does put his shoulder into it.
As we start doing that, I'll turn to the two of you. Find the basement.
So this guy is not. He's not one of the druids that works here.
Yeah, you don't think so.
Oh, I'm being pulled in two different directions by my curiosity. Books over people. Okay, I'm gonna go look for the almanac.
Okay, so there's really only two doors out of here, and they're back at the front of the room. And there's one off to the left and one off to the right. Just simple wooden doors. What you want to check?
I'm gonna go to the one on the left.
The one on the left, you open it up and there are indeed stairs that kind of go down into darkness. You can't see what's down there.
Okay. Kahu, would you join me?
Yeah, I'll go with you.
Okay.
Do you want me to? Can I roll a perception check to see if everything's okay down there? Since it is dark, we don't really.
Yeah,
see.
I mean, you basically don't need to in this
Okay.
situation. Like you can.
Yeah, let's go at it.
But you also have a thing that's called passive perception, right? Where it's just kind of the general, what you're picking up out of your
Got it.
surroundings in general. And so I think in this case, it's not,
Okay.
there's nothing for you to pick up on. Okay, so do you want to go downstairs?
Yeah, I'll lead, and I have my short sword drawn.
I'm gonna begin the process of casting detect magic on myself, but it takes me 10 minutes.
Okay. You dip down to the stairway, and the stairway just leads into a long hallway, and it's a low stone ceiling, and every 15 or 20 feet, there are lamps on the walls that cast a little bit of flickering orange light. But it really is, for the most part, just a straight shot. And there are arched doorways ever so often leading off both into the left and to the right that lead to little side rooms. And as you start walking down, they're full of stuff that you'd expect under an abbey, basically. I mean, one is full of casks of beer or wine you don't know. Another one is stacks of grain and rice. Another is farm implements and just kind of miscellaneous storage stuff as you begin walking down.
Never mind about the detect magic. I forgot the concentration rules. I still got comprehend languages going.
Okay. So what do you want to investigate anything further? Keep walking? What can I do for you?
I would like to keep walking, at least get to the end. I mean, we should go to the end and make sure that there's not like a library off to any one of those.
Well,
You do already know that the library is
Not library, but an almanac sitting in one of those rooms.
And surely an almanac would be like protected somehow. Like so, I would like to make an investigation to look for like lock boxes or like protected areas. So anywhere that you would keep something of like value.
Give me a roll.
That is a 23.
All right, so you do, as you guys are moving, thumb through things a little bit and try and scour the rooms, and you don't see anything like that offhand. But I mean, you do notice as you are moving around and get closer to the end of the hallway that instead of it just being a stone wall, it's completely covered in flowering vines right at the end of the hallway there, which of course gets your notice.
This certainly seems like some druid stuff here. Kahu, I do believe that there may be a hidden door behind here. Would you take a look?
Sure. Can I do? I'm gonna roll investigation to check out. for this
Investigation's
door.
fine again.
What else?
Or,
Get the instant detect hidden doors thing.
oh, I don't know.
I'm not aware.
Let's take a look.
Or did they take that away from elves? That used to be a thing. Elves used to have this thing where they could just always sense hidden doors.
That does not ring any bells, so I don't think so, but it's worth a look. Nope.
I don't believe so.
Nope, I don't see it.
Okay. So, not a
Mhm.
thing anymore.
All right, so
Shame.
you are, by all means, though, do give me an investigation check.
13, or I'm sorry, 14.
Okay, with a 14, you are.
I
Sorry, go ahead. Say what you're
no,
gonna say.
you go ahead.
Are you going to touch it at all? Or are you just trying to look at it?
I'm gonna touch it and try to like move the like
Sure.
vines away to see, and like kind of knocking to see where.
So you can't move the vines away, really. Like you start to pull on them and try and shift them around, but it is super dense and thick, and there's kind of multiple layers of vines. Like you can't force your hands behind it. It feels really strong. Like you probably can rip them down, but it's going to take a little more work than you probably would have guessed.
So I take my rapier and slice.
Start hacking.
Yeah.
Okay. So now then give me an athletics check.
9.
A 9. Okay. You are, scratching at it and hacking away. It's as soon as you hack off a piece, it's sort of another piece of vine grows back and slides into place. And even if you slash at the, the woody part of it, it kind of heals back pretty quickly.
I don't want to set this on
This is-
fire so I don't burn down the building.
It is a stone building.
Yeah, that's not going to be the problem with the fire in the basement. The building will be fine.
The people we might
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's hold off on the fire odds.
He's like kind of like he's got the firebolt page open. And he's like, no, no.
I do feel like though this almanac is behind here because this is so protected and these mysterious earthworm vines that regenerate.
Well, perhaps our Githyanki friend could help us with this.
Ooh.
I'm going to head downstairs once I feel like we've successfully barricaded the door as much as
Okay, so what are you doing with your various bedraggled companions that you have? You have a tied up,
my new boy band.
you have a tied up goblin, and you have
A chef and
a druid.
a 8-fingered druid. Once I'm gonna take them with
Take them all. Okay, so all of you catch up to the rest of the group, and yeah, you're there.
me. Well, that should. There's a door on the way downstairs too, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
off to the you take a left to go downstairs, but there's a door you didn't check on the right. Yeah.
No.
If that's what you're saying.
The door.
There's
coming
a door
downstairs.
to shut
Yeah.
us
Oh
off.
yes.
Close that. Is there any sort of locking mechanism?
There's no lock.
Okay.
P.S. It opens to outwards.
It opens outwards. Yuck. No, is what it is. Actually, I'll close the door and realize that problem. Coward, would you like to redeem yourself?
Fuck you.
I was giving you an opportunity. All right. Well, suppose you're coming with me then. We're going to settle this later.
He just spits on the floor, but he does continue to walk beside you.
All right. Come down. Huh.
I'm gonna step aside and gesture to the vines.
So this is.
I think we need to get past this.
We
struggling.
need to get past
Yes.
this. Okay, all right. Probably not safe to burn it. Do you
I
have
thought of that.
Do you have special fire that can do a controlled burn?
I don't.
Right. Well, I assume you already tried hacking at it.
I did. It immediately regenerates. Anytime I hit it, it almost bursts regrowth.
But you also do keep in mind you did a pretty poor hack job, so it's possible that
I'm
hacking
not very strong.
could make better progress.
Well,
Possible, you think?
I can give it a shot, but if it doesn't work, then we might want to check this basement for something caustic, sort of acid or similar substance that could burn without creating fire.
I'm gonna look around for some acid while he does this.
Okay.
I mean, just so I can have an assist, look over at Claude. Help me with this.
Claude.
I'll hand him my glaive, so he's not using his butcher knives.
No, but okay. So let's have your athletics roll first, and then we'll have Claude's.
That's good. I'm good at rolling athletics rolls, which is good because I'm not trained in it. That is a 22.
Nice.
Okay, very good. And then Claude, Chef Claude rolled a nat 20. So
I knew it'd come through.
Chef Claude does take your glaive and he looks at it, but then he drops it on the floor. And he does pull out his chef knives, which are gleaming in the flickering candlelight. And you take a good hack at it, and he also gives it a slash that looks absolutely practiced. This is a man who has used these knives to cut many a plant, many a vegetable. They are impeccably sharp, and indeed, you are, between the two of you, able to hack away enough of this that you can tear away, let's say, kind of a critical mass, so that it doesn't grow back very quickly. It's going to continue to grow back a little bit, but you have some time, and you can see that there's a door behind. And the door has an inlaid lock, And above that is written something inscribed. And
Comprehend languages is still active.
unfortunately, it isn't Druidic.
Damn it. Okay.
I'll look at the druid. What does that say, coward?
Roll an intimidation check.
Not trying to intimidate.
Oh, well, if you are not trying to intimidate him, then he's just going to shake his head.
Well, in that case, I'll just look over at you. You scare him.
Yeah, gotcha. Coward, what does it say?
What'd you roll?
12.
He kind of frowns and knows that you're going to get your way eventually. And he looks straight at the door and he speaks a word in Druidic. And the door starts to creep open. It slides into the wall, opens up.
Capital.
Huh?
Is it capital?
Capital.
I'll clap my hand on his back. You know what, coward? I'm beginning to think it's best
I truly expected you to not have a druid with you right now. Just this whole scenario went differently in my head. But he does just look at you guys and says, all you have to do is ask the door to open in Druidic. So the door does open. When you open the door, what you see is essentially a bedroom. There's a massive wooden bed and vast bookshelves are inlaid in the rear wall. They take up the whole back wall. And something on the eastern wall, kind of like a little laboratory. And there's a couch in the middle of the room, and on it sits a teenage boy. He's wearing gray linen pants.
Completes the boy band.
It's perfect.
He's our Justin.
He's wearing gray linen pants and a deep green tunic, and his hair is a little bit wild and messy. And he has just the beginnings of like peach fuzz and kind of a half beard, as if he's been trying to grow a beard, but he can't quite do it yet. And he looks at you with a somewhat sour expression, and he says, "Who are you supposed to be?"
Malkaret, a mercenary. May we come in?
He just shrugs at you and says, "Whatever."
Come in before the vines close behind us.
I'm gonna go sit down next to him on his bed. Like, this is going to be a strange question, but are you an almanac?
He kind of like looks at you funny, and then he says, "Who are you and why are you asking me?"
Well, you hear everything going on up there.
I don't know what you're talking about. And also, to be fair, you cannot hear a thing from down here. You are, kind of underground and as a big stone.
My name is Oz Bluebone, and I'm a apprentice wizard of Candlekeep. This is Kahu, and you've already met Malkath. And an invasion is going on upstairs, and we were sent down by the abbot to retrieve the Almanac for safekeeping.
He kind of looks to each of you one by one, and even though he looks annoyed and a little bit petulant, he also does look curious and confused. And then he looks at Kahu and he says, "Can I pet your dog?"
Sure, little one.
He reaches out. He's also says, "Don't call me little one. I'm 400 years old." And he pats the
What's
dog
your
on the head.
skincare regimen?
Kid looks good.
He gives Clutter a pat on the head. What does Clutter do?
He nuzzles up to him. He's practically as large. He is larger than this old man that looks like a boy. But you can see that Clutter has an amazing ability to like bring down walls, and the boy is snuggling back to Clutter.
Cool. So we have a magical Issa, basically. He's
Yes.
an emotional service animal now.
Is this kid human? Does he appear to be human?
He does appear human. He actually, you think you see like the faintest traces of a smile, like maybe he likes animals. And then he stands up and he looks at the druid that you have in tow, and he says, "What is this guy's deal?"
He attacked us and is also a coward.
He kind of looks at him, and then he sees his arm, and you see his eyes like dart to that little tattoo that he has on his wrist, and he says, "I thought you guys weren't even around anymore." And the druid doesn't say anything.
Oh, I was actually going to ask him about that, but he does not seem very forthcoming. What is that tattoo about?
There used to be a druidic circle called the Dusk Circle. It's a club of crazy guys that lived in the forest near here, but that was almost 100 years ago.
You've been in this basement for 100 years?
Sometimes it feels like longer. In fact, it has been longer.
Why have you been in the basement this whole time? Have you never come out?
Of course I've come out. This is where I live.
I'm gonna start looking through his books.
Okay. So he kind of looks over your shoulder and he's like, don't mess up any of my stuff. But he doesn't, try and stop you. He has, it really looks like a lot of this stuff is the same sort of stuff that's in the library upstairs. Wouldn't surprise you if, he gets books from up there and vice versa. But a lot of it is super old. Almost all of it is in Druidic. And they're very beautiful old books. A lot of them have like kind of elaborate illuminated pages, that sort of thing. And clearly there's not much to do. He doesn't have like a PS5 on the wall down here. So he does a lot of tinkering and reading. And he looks past you and he goes, "You guys thrashed my door." And kind of rolls his eyes, but he doesn't say anything else about that.
But I don't see anything that looks like an almanac.
No. No, I'm just going to say no to that.
What is your name, Dirk?
What did you just call me?
Dirk.
Emerith is my name.
Emerith.
Emerith, we told you a little bit about what's going on upstairs. Can you tell us a little bit about why you stay down here and what you've been doing all this time?
Yeah, but if we're under attack and if maybe we're gonna die, do you think we should leave and talk about it later?
I was going to suggest that. If you are not the Almanac, though, is it one of these
I am
books?
the Almanac.
You are okay.
They call me the Druid's Almanac. But yeah, I'm a person. And I don't want to die, and I can die. Is somebody upstairs helping everyone who lives here?
Well, sort of. There are other mercenaries and guards that are probably being slain right now.
By orcs and goblins.
Yes, their numbers are overwhelming. We should not go upstairs. Not for a while.
There's no way out except upstairs.
Well, we wait for the fight to die down.
Is Emerith, do you have any advice that you could give us? Has this type of an attack come upon this town before?
People have attacked Golden Fields dozens of times over the course of hundreds of years. That's why I have to stay secluded. It's so I can stay safe from the enemies of Chantia and of the Emerald Enclave. It doesn't mean I like it, but it's what we have to do sometimes. And if you're telling me that there's an army upstairs that's going to kill everybody, why do you think that they would just leave and they wouldn't be there if we go up tomorrow after the fighting dies down? Isn't that worse?
Evacuation during the chaos of battle, I think, is a more prudent course of action.
Yeah.
Have I read anything about the Dusk Circle in the past?
You might have. In fact, let's go ahead and roll a history check, I think.
Okay.
Or an arcana you can choose.
They're the same.
Okay.
15.
Okay, with the 15, I would say that, you have seen their name mentioned in passing, but not in any important way. I mean, just that they are, one of many orders of druids in the region. They were around for a few hundred years that kind of petered out over the last 10 or 20, but they don't appear, they haven't had any significant influence on history or anything like that you know of.
Okay. I'm going to release concentration on the Comprehend Languages spell. You may not have noticed the faint traces of sigils and glyphs floating around my head. And then I'll turn to our druidic friend, our captive, and cast Detect Thought Time.
Oh, oucho. Okay. So tell me the mechanics of that.
So he has to make a DC 13 Wisdom save.
Okay. Okay, so actually he rolls a 20.
Shit.
20 total.
Okay. So
Druids need to be wise.
nothing happens. So I get like nose to nose with him for a moment, and I'm like muttering something arcane and eldritch under my breath, and he just kind of like stares through it and like, fuck, okay, fine.
Yeah, he's surprisingly steely and prepared to die, it seems.
It looks like a staring contest, and I lost.
Well, he's not that prepared.
Not entirely prepared to die. Apparently so.
And I think he knows what I did.
Oz, you are a wizard, sorcerer type. Right.
Yes.
Well, surely you can just plane shift us out of here.
Oh,
Right.
well, I will be able to once I'm further along in my studies. That's far out of my abilities at the moment.
Oh, did you just start?
Wow. I mean, it's been 15 years.
How long do you live? You better pick up the pace.
Hang on. He would know this.
Oh, how long he lives? He would know.
Oh yeah. Like no, I haven't. That particular divination, I have not been brave enough to attempt. Oh, you mean on average? Oh.
Yeah.
Typically around 200 years.
Right. Anyways, well, can you? So there's nothing you can do to get us out of here. Is what you're saying.
At this particular moment, no. Perhaps.
I think that if we go back out there right now, the town is going to be swarmed by orcs and goblins. They were already making their way, incurring in as we were making our way to the abbey. They've been banging on the door. If we go out there now, it'll be suicide. They'll be looking for us,
Perhaps a stealthy
Yeah.
escape?
which is why we should wait until the
Imarith
fighting dies down.
seems like he's getting impatient with you a little bit, and he goes towards his bed and he reaches underneath it and he pulls out a big axe. This is like a two-handed axe that seems awkward and unwieldy for him to be able to pick up, but he does pick it up, and he kind of slaps it down on the ground and he says, "These are my people and I am not going to leave them." And he starts walking out of the room.
I will step in front of the door. Whoa.
So I do feel this connection to Emerith because I have experienced what it's like to have those that we have a connection to, decimated. So I'm kind of like with him that we need to get out, face it, and get out. So I'm with you, Emerith.
He's gonna stop. He's not gonna try and knock you out of the way, but he is gonna look up at you with a look of defiance on his face, and he does say, "If I have to go through you, I will, and I can."
May I propose a compromise? I could really just use about a mere 60 minutes to gather myself and restore some of my arcane energy, and then perhaps I will be of more use.
He
Sleep
kind of
is for losers.
he does kind of look deflated, like he's considering that, but he turns to you and says, "Is it because you're hurt? Because I can take care of that."
Oh, that and the expenditure of my arcane energies in combat with the goblins and with this gentleman here.
Okay, so he does walk over to you and he places a hand on your head, and you do in fact feel as if it's almost like you've had like a jolt of espresso. You do feel better and lighter, and your wounds do heal. It is as if you have taken a short rest.
Okay, cool.
Sweet.
And he goes to each of you in turn and does the same thing.
Oh, wow.
If you need him to.
Yeah, no. Give me my superiority dice back.
Okay, so where are we in relation to like the outer walls of the settlement? Can we like dip out and run for the woods easily, or would it be like a long way to go?
It wouldn't be a long way to go, but it probably would be difficult. There, for sure that, the main entrance is that south entrance, which is really only a couple hundred yards from kind of this little miniature town where everybody lives. So it's not very far. There's that one, and then there's also a north gate, and that's a couple miles away. You don't know what the situation is there, but you heard an explosion from that area. Then there's also a passage that leads to the docks, that's close to where you're at on the east wall that leads, to where ships can come in and out onto the Desrin River. I shouldn't say ships. It's usually, smaller boats and barges. So it wouldn't be that far. It could potentially be bloody. There was a lot standing between you and that gate when you came inside this building.
I want to explore the rest of this building. Like we'll go the other stairs, see if there's like...
Have the vines grown back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Presumably he could open his own door anyway. Well, maybe not.
I mean, the door and the vines are like two separate things, though, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But he did say he goes in and out.
Oh, yeah, so you can probably just...
Yeah. So I would assume that there's like an upper level.
Yeah, because you've been there before, that there is an upstairs above that main room, and it's where the library is. The library takes up the whole second floor.
Okay, so I want to go. So I propose that we gather more information on the state of the conflict outside. To wit, I believe taking a vantage point upstairs in the library perhaps would give us a good way to...
You needed to go to the library anyway. That's a good idea, Oz. All right.
Synchronicity.
Yes. But no one leaves the Abbey, one leaves this building until we're certain that it's going to be safe.
This seems reasonable to me.
Agreed? I'll let you die. You do. So, just be aware.
Emerith shrugs at you, and he says, I could take care of myself, but I'll stay with you for now.
Okay.
Do I believe him?
You can roll
an insight?
Yeah.
15.
You believe that he believes what he's saying.
I respect your confidence. Let's go.
Okay, yeah, so we go upstairs to the library.
Gonna
Okay.
carefully, as we go up the stairs, quietly take the last few steps. Carefully open the door.
Okay, and so
Sanctuary.
remind me, are you taking the goblin, the chef, the prisoner druid, that you've collected all of these? I didn't expect you to have this entourage.
No.
Why don't we lose this goblin?
So somebody has to stay and watch.
I can stay and watch.
Okay, great.
No, I won't stay and watch.
You could stay and watch if you want.
What if?
Generally, it's
Why don't we
not
just
the best idea to split the party if you can help it.
Yeah. Or if we could leave them in that room because they can't get out.
That's what I
They're
was
not
thinking.
magic.
It's not like they can
Except-
read any of this.
Except for the druid,
Except the
and we'll
druid.
take him with us.
Who also can potentially... We know that he can open the door. He can probably control the vines.
Well, hold on. I'll look at it. You can read that, right? The language?
Of course, I wrote it.
Oh, the coward stays in here then. With the goblin.
But the coward can open the door. Because
I could stop that, Emerith tells you.
Great.
Great.
Very useful. Claude, you stay with the two prisoners. Make sure they don't do anything suspicious or dangerous.
I'll try my best.
I have total faith.
Okay, so you walk out of the room and you turn around. Emerith does say something in Druidic and the door slides shut again. The vines grow back, and as the vines are growing back, you can see that inscription that was in Druidic above the door before that had kind of a password. It just sort of burns off of the wall there.
Nice.
And he turns back around and continues walking down the hall. It doesn't seem to give it a second thought. So you go upstairs, peek open that door. No, see, it doesn't look like anybody's gotten in.
Okay.
So there's the door that you haven't seen anything, you haven't opened yet, is right kind of across from you. And then there's the stairway to the library is back on the other end of the big room.
Okay. The stairway.
Okay.
I'm curious about that other door. Do I know what's down there?
You don't know what's in there. I mean, you can just open it and look in if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that like on
It's
the way.
not that. Yeah, it's not that interesting. You poke your head in, and it's a small bedroom. It looks pretty unassuming.
Boy.
Yeah. No. This is where
This
Ellerden
all
did-
makes
you-
sense that they're in the church.
you would guess that this is where Ellerden Daravik, the abbot, stays. And it's just a pretty unadorned room with, a very simple wooden bed that's really low to the ground. And then a desk and, again, some stacks of books, but really pretty much nothing else in there.
Okay. And I'm not doing like a detailed investigation.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just what you see if you just peek in is like, this is where this guy crashes.
Okay.
Okay, so then if you go up the stairs to the library, then indeed it is a library. It's pretty beautiful. I mean, it's just, row after row, stack after stack of old, gorgeous books. There are windows everywhere. Really elaborate stained glass is kind of a primary facet of the Abbey, and most of it is, depicts food and crops, unsurprisingly, perhaps. But there are, a variety of angles that you could peek out and see far out ahead of you. If you look out those windows, things are going poorly. There are, a lot of the wheat fields, which, again, comprise like 75% of the area within the walls are slowly burning. And you can see it, in the way that a forest fire kind of creeps that line of fire moving further and further north as more of the crops continue to kind of smolder. It appears now, it's like you are in a war. There are orc soldiers all over the place. There are what appear to be humans amidst them as well. Smaller shapes.
Fighting with them or against them?
Well, some fighting with them, some fighting against them. From your vantage point, you can't really, make out fine details, I would say.
Is there a window that can be opened?
You can open any window if you have a blunt object and the will.
Malka, could you open this window for me?
It doesn't open.
I thought I was being clever. Would you smash the window for me, please?
It makes some noise.
Oh, that's true. Is that so that there's not one that actually like is designed to open?
You don't see one that's designed to open.
Damn. Okay, never mind.
Is there, I assume, I'm going to look at the ceiling. Is there any sort of ventilation?
I mean, you don't see ventilation like tunnel shafts sort of stuff,
I'm
but
just looking for something that can send the owl through.
Yeah, there's a fireplace.
Okay.
On one wall, and there's obviously there's no fire going. The chimney is large. You presume you could fly the owl up.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna send him up the chimney. He's not happy about it.
Okay, he goes flapping up. And what do you want him to do?
I want him to. So this is like a scouting mission, right? I want him to tell me to look for the black bands around the wrists of the humans. To tell me if there's any other types, any other like species among the invaders. I guess that's it. Anything else that he happens to notice that's not, that might be useful.
So, sorry, go ahead.
I will ask you. Actually, I don't know how it works. I'm just going to make a perception check. Well,
okay.
See if I can see anything.
So, and I have advantage, so that's
Got a 15. I'm just going to try and see if I can identify, what...
Strategic points of note?
No. The humans, is the type of armor they're wearing, or do they have any insignia or something that is, recognizable to a particular faction?
Yes, understood.
19.
Okay, and so are you just hanging, Kahu?
Can I talk to Emrith?
Yeah, you can. Let's resolve their roles first. How about that? So with the 15, you can't make out anything detailed, but you don't think that very many of the humans are wearing armor at all. They look like they're mostly wearing cloth, or maybe leather, some of them. And so some of the, you can definitely make out Goldenfield's guards that are still alive and fighting. I mean, they are losing badly, but the ones that are fighting are holding out with a lot of heart. You also notice with the 15 that it doesn't seem like the walls have been taken yet. You can tell that there are archers at some of the guard towers and kind of on the part of the wall you can walk on between those guard towers that are firing down. And it's a pretty long shot. So they're not doing a ton of damage, but they are picking off people and hitting people. There's not that many of them. You can also tell, because it's obvious, the nearest guard tower, you can see that there is what looks something larger is shooting down from there. You can't tell exactly what, but some sort of large projectile is slamming down into the ranks kind of far back from there. You, Oz, your bird flies around for a minute and comes zooming on back and reports that, yeah, it looks like the invading force is made up of primarily orcs with also members of the Dusk Circle working alongside them. They appear to be probably all druids, at least they're all dressed kind of that way. He also reports that there is, in the middle of everything, what he thinks is like the orc commander, probably a particularly mean looking big orc that's riding on an oryx. If you know what that is, they are
like a bull, kind of.
It's exactly what it looks like. Yeah. I mean, you would have to roll to see if you know anything else, but he reports it as being like it's riding a giant bull.
Okay. Nature, I assume?
Yeah, that'll do. History or religion could even do too.
Okay. Ooh, that's a nat 1. That's a 6.
Didn't cover that in the 15 years.
Yeah, I mean, you just know what they are. You don't really kind of know the history of their cultivation or you do know that they're not exceptionally common. Orcs usually don't have them, but you've also heard of it. And yeah, they are giant bull / bison or ox kind of beasts of burden, but they have mean looking big horns. And yeah, he's riding it as a mount.
I'm going to relay all of that to you guys.
I'll come back over. I'm gonna try and size up Imareth and see does he actually know how to swing that axe? What kind of check do I need to make for that?
That's kind of the question, right? I was thinking about when
there's a class skill I get later on that lets me do that for free, but I don't have that yet.
Would it be an insight check?
I feel like it would be like, yeah, probably insight or maybe perception, but I think insight. And then I think I want to just like give you some kind of bonus. Because I feel like you would know as a trained warrior, right? Yeah. So let's say insight and, well, with advantage. How about that?
Okay. Oh, that once again, advantage never helps. That's a 10.
Yeah, with the 10, you don't really know. You do notice that even when he's just kind of idly handling his axe, his grip is suggestive in a subtle way of somebody who has held it before. He doesn't seem, when you just place an axe in a peasant's hand and say, hey, it's time to fight, even if they're not shaking, which they usually are, they hold it in awkward ways. They don't have a sense of the balance of the weapon. He seems pretty natural.
So, what's your plan then? Are we just going to rush out the front door and fight our way at a bloody swath? Because I don't like our odds.
I say we go for the commander.
You
or we go for the gate.
Want to kill the leader of an unknown force.
Seems like kill the head, the rest will die.
You're not wrong, and I respect your ambition. However, they have the upper hand right now, decidedly. Better to live and take revenge later than die. Take the rest.
I have a good feeling about Emerith here. He says he won't let anyone die, but he has to help his people. So I don't know if he's going to run away with us.
I'll leave with you. But first I would need to get to the livestock pens. I think that's where people will be. They've been taught that if they have to flee, the fastest way is to go to where the horses are. Either that or the docks. If there's any survivors, I need to take them with me.
Well, what's closer? The stables or the docks?
The stables are actually like quite close. The stables are, I would say, 50, 75 yards from the front door of the Abbey. The docks is a slightly different story. There's like a small passageway on the eastern wall of Golden Fields that leads you kind of just, beyond the walls. And that walks down to where the docks are. It is exposed. There's not like a building there, it's just some docks.
I think that perhaps the obvious route to take initially is to go to the stables and then make a decision from there.
I think going to the docks.
I agree.
If they're burning the boats, then we have our backs to the water and we'll escape.
Yes, that's good tactical thinking. Stables it is.
Onward.
Okay. So do you want to go out the front door?
Is there another
really?
Yeah. We were
not.
told that there was not another, right?
There is not another exit. You can
dramatically leap through a thing.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of
Before we go-
how I should answer this because there are other considerations.
Before we go, we should collect the others. And I would like to have words with that goblin first. Everybody can speak their tongue.
Imarith says he can.
Good. All right, so we'll go back down to the basement.
All right, you go to the basement.
Let our
Imarith
boys.
says something to the door. Door opens. Before he does that, he looks at the vines and then he looks at you guys and he pulls out of, he's got a little backpack, a little like canteen, and sprinkles it on the vines, and the vines retract. And so he opens the door, and surprisingly enough, everything's fine. I don't know if you are thinking maybe you would open the door and find a bunch of corpses and no Druid, but no, sure enough, Druid is sitting on the couch looking very sullen. Chef Claude is, he had his back to the door with both of his chef's knives, and the goblin is tossed on the bed and is still, he's kind of wriggling, but dude's not going anywhere. He's also, you may recall, almost dead. So he doesn't have a whole lot of fight in him.
Go over to the goblin, sort of sit him up, ask him who he's working for and why they've attacked.
Okay, so, oh man, I have a decision to make of whether or not I'm going to try and do a damn goblin voice. This is not my favorite sort of, not great at the voices in general.
None of us speak Goblin, right? And I don't have comprehend languages going. So
Yeah, so you don't really have to do a goblin voice.
That's a good
We're not
point.
going to understand any of it.
So
Unless you really want to do some squeaky garbles.
No, I don't. And he does do some squeaky garbles.
it's his name, Squeaky Garbles.
Squeaky
No,
garbles.
Imarith tells you that his name is Grub Grub.
He was also
Grub
a
Grub.
follower of Manson.
Yeah.
He does say that his name is Grub Grub, and that
Grub of the Waterdeep Grub.
that's right. And he says that his boss is the word that he uses, is Nerdak Gorender, and that he is the commander of the orc forces. He says that he doesn't know anything about the druids, that Nerdak said that they were to work with them, and that's as far as he knows about them. And what else did you want him to ask about?
Well, once I get that, I'll look over at Coward. Coward, you're working with these orcs and goblins.
We are.
Why are you
I'm not going to tell you that.
Can I roll an intimidation?
You can do that again, yeah.
Wait, I'll stop. You're laughing. Like, that's a
No,
lame move.
It's definitely not lame. It's just, yeah. It's just funny because, like, I always have trouble personally as a DM, like, navigating intimidation, basically. And, like, how, like, trying, like, to not give away things or to give away things. No. You absolutely should roll it. I'm laughing at myself because it's, like, a thing I'm bad at.
It's a 6. I rolled a 16.
A 16. He says, the orcs have their leader. The Dawn Circle, or the Dusk Circle, has ours. Balin Windweaver is who is commanding us. I can't tell you why I do it, I'm told.
Yeah, I incite that. See if he actually knows more than he's letting on. Bark. That's a 7.
You have no reason to believe that he is lying from what you can tell.
Does the name Balin Windweaver mean anything to me?
No, it doesn't. No matter how much you roll. This doesn't make any sense that it would.
Okay. I'll ask Emerith. Does the name Balin Windweaver, does that mean anything to you?
He just shrugs.
This Dust Circle, they don't like, right, your settlement, religion.
He shrugs again and he says, I don't know anything about these people.
But you're supposed to be some sort of almanac.
I don't know the personal histories of every human faction on the planet. They used to be normal druids. They split off from the Emerald Enclave, but they weren't evil. They didn't hate us. They did their own thing.
Look at Coward. Coward, why are you coming with us and not resisting?
I don't want to die, but there are limits.
So, whenever we leave here, are you...
Going to run? Yeah.
Alright, well, probably not going to get Goblin.
I'll take out my hand axe and slit the goblin's throat.
Whoa.
So brutal. You could have had.
Oz pulls out a little
Squeaky garbles.
a little notebook. That if as he flips it open, you might catch Malkuth's name written on the front of it, and starts writing notes.
And then I'll start taking my rope off of Grub, and then I will tie up Coward.
Okay. Fair enough. So yeah, Grub bleeds out all over Emerith's bed, and he goes, "Dude!"
Oh, I'm so sorry. I mean, this entire town's going to be wrecked. I'll get you some new sheets somewhere else.
He still looks annoyed, and he also seems like he just didn't love in general that we killed Grub. But anyway, he doesn't say anything else. You bind Coward, and yeah, he's bound.
Okay, I'll toss him over my shoulder.
Okay.
Here we go.
Okay, so are you going back upstairs?
Yep.
Mhm.
All right. You are now back at the front door, which, has 2 church pews kind of stacked up against it. It's very partially ajar, like somebody made, 6 inches of
They
progress,
tried, yeah.
but then they kind of decided it wasn't worth it and moved on.
All right.
Interesting that they weren't more persistent about this. This is the seat of knowledge for the abbey.
Oh, and I'm gagging this.
Okay.
I'm actually gonna doff my armor,
Okay.
my pack. So we're going to try and sneak to the stables, right? Plan.
Mhm.
Yes.
I assume everybody feels confident they can pull that off, right?
Yes.
Well, my
You have some magic that could help.
I don't. Do I? I don't think I do.
Say one more time. Think we're all much more likely to live through this without. But I'm not going to deter you from wanting to help your own kind. Oz, if you die, I'm sorry. Know that it was not my intention.
He scribbles down some more in his notepad. Interesting.
Thank you.
But
Well, I guess I'll just have my my crossbow ready. Move the pews so we can get out.
Okay. So you open the door. Well, I'm assuming you're going to kind of peek the door first.
Right, yeah.
It is chaos out there. It's not like as if there's, people kind of standing right outside the door looking at you. There are people running all over the place. You do think that you probably, you have a chance of making a move without getting noticed right away. Some of the buildings are on fire nearby. Some of them are not. The stables are, you'll go basically past North Furrow's end, the inn, and hang a right. And so you can't see what their scenario is, but the coast is as clear as it's going to be for you to make a move. Group stealth. Everyone rolls stealth. So if you're going to go for it, then now's the time to go for it.
I'm going to use ambush to add one of my superiority dice.
not terrible.
24.
Gosh, girl.
Good thing I added the superiority die to this roll. That is the 14.
I got a 13.
Mm.
Chef Claude also had to roll. Is he's still with us, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm making sure. He botched his roll. Emerith got a nat 20. So, as a group, you actually do move quite stealthily. You definitely make it around that first bin in front of the inn, no problem. You know that a couple people saw you in the chaos of everything, but they just didn't think anything of you, really. You round the corner and you can see down the path a little ways, the stable. It's not on fire. There's not a million people standing around it. It's kind of, a dark path off that main road. So it's as good a shot as you're going to get at being able to move stealthily there. I think that you should roll one more time. One more other stealth check, if you don't mind.
That is a 3.
That's what I rolled the first time. Plus my modifier.
24 again.
Ooh, what the? Come on, man. I'm trained in stealth. And I took my armor off just to be good at it. That's a 10.
But you actually sort of lucked out because Kahu had a good roll, and then this time Chef Claude had a good roll, and Emerith had a good roll. So
I just like
you know,
face planted in the mud for a second.
3 out of 5 is good enough to get there unseen. You do find when you get up, the stables are huge. This looks like a big barn, but I mean this is like a very, very large building. It has barn doors. Basically, they're like 10 feet tall, and if you touch them, you'll immediately notice they are barred from the other side. So, what do you want to do? You can hear chattering on the other side of the doors.
Yeah, Emerith.
He kind of looks around at you guys, and suddenly, for the first time, sort of looks like he looks a little bit less sure. He bangs on the door, and he says, "Open up by order of the abbot." Nobody immediately moves to listen to him. And so you can hear somebody on the other side of the door say, like, "Why should we open up?" And then he says, "Open up again in the name of my mother, Chantia." And then there's kind of like a bunch of murmuring on the other side of the door. And then you hear like a as something is moved, and it opens just slightly. And you just see, a human man's face look out. He sees you guys, sees that you are not a bunch of orcs, and goes ahead and opens the door enough for you all to come inside if you want to.
Okay. Yeah, move on.
Yeah.
So you do. And there's probably 75 to 100 people who have crammed into this area. There's not enough horses for anything close to all of them, but it was a large enough kind of open space for people to huddle. And that's all they're doing is cowering and crying for the most part. The guy that opened the door seems a little bit more together than probably most of them. It looks like probably anybody who was able-bodied enough to fight is doing that. These look like kind of non-combatants. And that guy, who we'll say is sort of the unofficial leader of this group, says, "I don't know who you are, but if you can help us get out, we'll go with you."
Then why'd you open the door?
I sounded like a kid. I didn't think he sounded like an orc.
We don't.
Emerith shakes his head. He says, they don't know me. I don't talk to them.
I've got some questions for you later.
But he does look over at the guy who's kind of unofficially in charge, and he asks him if he has seen the abbot. And he says not since the fighting started.
So what is the best route out of here?
The guy in charge kind of shrugs and says, "If we knew, we would have gone."
I'll look at him.
I wish I had a good answer.
Wait, so, okay. I maybe should have interrogated your plan a little bit further. That's on me. But you don't have a plan?
We can go out by the docks. We can try and push through the south gate. We can go over the wall, maybe.
I think the wall is our safest bet. There are still guards.
I can help with the wall a little. He looks over at the stone wall. This barn has one wall of it is basically stone, is the short version. And he waves his hand, and part of it just crumbles away and then kind of grows back together.
Oh.
Like,
The wall.
He can druid terraform, whatever that spell's called.
Shape Earth?
Stone shape.
Stone shape.
Mhm.
Yeah. Great spell.
Perhaps to improve our odds of survival, we send a few strong riders with the horses to create a distraction, seeing as there are not enough horses for everyone.
Right. That's a good idea. Who in here has a terminal illness?
Nope, nobody raises their hand, surprisingly enough. However, one woman stands up and says, "I'll go." And in fact, you've seen her around Oz over the last couple days. There's not much to say about her. She just seems to get around. She is an unassuming Chantian aesthetic, a brunette in her 40s with a kind of nice but stoic expression, and she always wears a simple set of monk's robes that are white. And you've seen her several times over the past few days. She seems to just kind of be walking around all the time with like a big walking stick, as if she's been almost like she's patrolling, but within the walls. And yeah, she steps up and says that she'll go.
What else? Everyone's going to be outdone by this woman in robes? This unarmed woman. No one else. Well, I'm not going to do it because I don't care about it.
So the guy that's in charge kind of snaps to attention, and he says to another man that's sitting nearby, go outside and fetch Lifferlos. And the guy looks at him and slithers out of the front door opening there and kind of runs off into the night.
What's Lifferlos? I wonder.
I'll ask out loud.
Yeah. Who? Lifferlos is a tree. He's an awakened tree.
Yes, good. You should get that. You should have already had that. Why did you wait?
He says they're all over Golden Fields. We use them as sentries. Lifferlos is a little bit special. He's almost like a mascot for the children. If he's still alive, I'm sure he can be of use.
Bray and this tree are one to make a distraction then?
Anyone else wants to come, I'd be happy to have the company. Nobody else from the crowd of elderly people and children steps up.
So the orcs and goblins and Dusk Circle Druids don't seem to be focused on this stable.
No, I mean, not that you can tell. They seem to be trying to mop up, the rest of the combatants and destroying buildings as they go sometimes, but
Maybe
you
we don't need a distraction because the combatants are already distracted.
Yeah.
Maybe if we
How many people?
75?
75 to 100, you don't, this, you don't
This
have
is
any
a lot of bodies.
you do the noble sacrifice, and we will make sure these people get through the wall safely.
She kind of rolls her eyes at you. I don't think that she intends for it to be a sacrifice, but she kind of nods and she walks out the door. She pushes the doors open fully as she scoots outside, and you do see the guy that left before comes back and kind of comes just shambling up to you guys is a massive oak tree with a face. And it's a living tree. And it also, the other thing you notice is that it has been carved on excessively. It has millions of children's names scrawled on it, where kids have gone at it with pocket knives. It has little hearts and sad faces and happy faces and clouds and anything else a kid might carve onto a tree, including some things that are best left undescribed.
That's a family podcast. I'll stop swearing so much.
But it does come shambling up and settles back down right there outside the barn. And Bray says something to it. She looks back and she says, "Are you ready?"
Things are about to get chaotic, so I hope you roll right on to the next episode. Thanks as always for hanging with us. Subscribe, share, and rate if you want to help us out, and you can reach us at hello@rollthebonespodcast.com.